The TV star who outperformed elite athletes.
This absolute giga-chat of a man went from being a carpenter to an international champion athlete, and then he built a fitness empire through a super famous kids TV show. And
Did
he's still
something just
in
happen there?
incredible shape at age
Okay.
60. Now, we all have different reasons for why we started training. Some wanted to get girls, others did it because it
Yeah, no way they just showed a picture of Toji.
was fun, and some of you probably did it to get better at sports, and you ultimately fell in love with the iron, and now you use that to fuel your inner voices because they won't stop shouting unless you do. And let's be honest, a lot of us were inspired by the characters we grew up watching in cartoons, anime, and movies. You know, those larger-than-life personalities with biceps bigger than your future. People often talk about how Barbie created unrealistic body expectations, but have you seen the sort of stuff like I grew up with? Hulked out heroes and action figures like these made it look like you needed a 10-pack just to get out of bed.
Yeah, what anime could that possibly be, bro? Like, what context could that possibly translate to? Talking about some triceps and screaming and hollering, bro. What am I seeing?
One show that really stuck with me as a kid was Lazy Town. You know, that old kids TV show where most of the characters look like they're sculpted out of Play-Doh, and only 3 of them are actual humans. There's a little girl, the greatest meme lord of all time. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Have you ever heard the sound of a rubber ball breaking a window? Would you like to?
And this absolute giga-chat of athleticism, Sportacus. A play on the word sport, which makes him sound insanely athletic, and Acus, which means giga-chat. And he's
I never watched Lazy Town growing up, but I've seen Sportacus like so often. I think I've seen Sportacus so many times, never seen Lazy Town, so I have no clues who this meme lord guy is. I have seen the girl though.
played by a former gymnast, Magnus Øren Eyjolfsson Shaving. That is difficult to pronounce. But this guy wasn't just an actor, he was and still is the real deal. Now, Sportacus is supposed to be a superhero, but his superpower is just being insanely fit. I mean, this dude is out here doing backflips, breaking through steel bars, and whenever he needs an extra boost of power, he just eats a random fruit or vegetable. That's right, the secret sauce to his strength is a well-balanced diet. And because he's super extra, Sportacus lives in a freaking airship. He flies around the sky like he's the freaking giga-chat of Earth, which he is, and he does push-ups at every given opportunity.
Push-ups, yes! I know a lot of different kinds of push-ups.
Yo, this guy's mustache is just elite. I mean, it's almost like he has cat whiskers for his mustache.
But the real magic of Lazy Town isn't just the weird characters or the bizarre plot. No, it's the fact that Magnus Shaving, the guy who plays Sportacus, is also the creator, writer, and director of the show. He literally put himself on the highest pedestal
Well, I had no clue that was what he did.
possible because he knew exactly how much of a chat he was. But, all jokes aside, Magnus is genuinely one of the strongest, most agile, and healthy people you'll probably ever come across. And his backstory is even more fascinating than you'd expect. Now, Magnus grew up in a pretty average, small Icelandic town, and he started training to become an athletics teacher. But he later realized that carpentry and architecture were more in line with his interests. So one day, while working as a carpenter, he made a bet with his friend Fjölnir that would change both of their lives forever. And what was this challenge? To master a sport which both of them knew nothing about. Now, Fjölnir was challenged to master snooker, and Magnus had to start doing aerobic gymnastics.
What is snooker? What is snooker? Snooker game. Snooker. Is this not just is snooker not just wait, is that what this game is called? I didn't know it was called snooker. It's called snooker? Who decided that? Who decided to name it snooker? Wow, okay. I didn't know it was called that.
Which is similar to the floor event in regular gymnastics, both with more dancing and personality-based scores than just doing a lot of flips. Now get this, both of these guys ended up becoming the national champions in their respective sports. But Magnus didn't want to stop there. He went above and beyond. He began competing internationally, becoming the Scandinavian champion in 1993, the European champion in 1994, and also in 1995. And he was even being voted for Iceland's Athlete of the Year in 94. But during this time, Magnus would realize that his true passion was just motivating others to be their best selves. So, he created a small TV show in Iceland from 1991 to 93, where parents could get advice on raising their kids how to be healthy and active. But Magnus realized he was thinking too small, and he wanted to spread his message of health and fitness to the entire world. So in 1995, he wrote a children's book that
When did Lazy Town come out? Lazy Town. Lazy Town. Lazy Town. When did it come out? August 16th, 2004. Okay. 2004.
became the foundation for what would later become the Lazy Town TV show. And he managed to do all of this while running a carpentry business and earning a degree in sports science while competing internationally in aerobic gymnastics. Talk about multitasking. Lazy Town began as a traveling stage show across Iceland, and it quickly became a hit, especially because the main character was so much of a chat. So much so that in 2003, Nickelodeon wanted in, and they signed a contract with Magnus, bringing the show to a global audience, which was exactly the move he needed. So by 2004, Lazy Town was on air, and it quickly became an international success amongst young audiences, proving a successful hit for over 10 years. And Magnus had accomplished his mission, to inspire kids worldwide to become healthy and active in the most creative way possible. But here's the kicker. When Magnus first appeared as Sportacus, he wasn't some prime athlete in his mid-20s or even early 30s. He was already 40 years old, performing insane gymnastics and full-body movements that would put most athletes half his age to shame. And by
Wow, this guy does not look 40. If anything, yeah, this guy just looks like he's late 20s, man. Late 20s. 40 years old is absurd. But he's, I don't know, man. That's just, I guess that's just what happens when you're really fit and you have good genetics and you eat really well. And
the time the show ended in 2014, he was 50, still flipping, jumping, sprinting around like he was half his age. And even now, as he approaches 60, he is still able to replicate all of his former moves with ease, and even those super extra push-ups. And he is often given a lot of credit for the general level of physical fitness, health, and life expectancy in Iceland because of his drive to promote a healthy way of living and eating. And even back then, he promoted what a lot of nutrition experts talk about today in regards to food processing, calorie consumption, like avoiding fried foods because they add unnecessary fats, or eating whole foods because they aren't tampered with and because they'll be more filling and richer in micronutrients.
So I would always say the rule of thumb, the more they change their food for original look, the more unhealthy it gets. So if you cook a fish, if you eat it raw, fantastic. If you cook it for just get the steam off, you eat it, 8 points out of 10. If you just take it and cook it, like fried it on a pan, 6 points. If you really take it and you deep fry it,
don't mess with the food too much.
No. If it doesn't look like a fish when you eat it, it's not a fish.
And Magnus is oftentimes invited to sporting events and shows that talk about sports, health, and conferences and congresses for exercise and the medical benefits a great lifestyle has on chronic disease and...
Well, I really had no clue this guy was that popular. I just thought he was an actor who was like insanely fit, and I didn't even know he did all this. I thought this video was going to be about him just being an insane actor who could totally outwork athletes. I didn't know he was like an athlete before and a carpenter, and he does like show, and he comes on to talks like this. Wow, very impressive.
Life quality. He's also a motivational speaker, so even nearing an age where most people would barely walk 1,000 steps per day, Magnus is still preaching his message and doing everything he can to make a positive impact on people's health. And maybe, just maybe, he'll make a comeback to the TV screen in his 60s just to prove that his advice about training and nutrition is the true path to the fountain of youth. So the next time you guys think about Lazy Town, remember that behind
that guy over there just taking mad pictures. I don't blame him. If I was in Sportacus's presence, I would be taking millions of pictures.